So item 7 is the draft revenue budget for 2026-27 and a medium-term financial plan update. So I think it's important to set the revenue budget report and MTFP update in context. At the time that the report was prepared, we were still identifying an £8.4 million gap in our budget for 26-27. That's despite the fact that officers and directorates had identified over £18 million in savings already to deliver in 26-27, on top of the more than 100 million in savings that have been identified and delivered over the last decade or so. So a lot of good work had already gone into 26-27, but the bottom line is that sitting here today, we are not able to present a balanced budget as would normally be the case for the budget cabinet. Now, at the time the report was written, we also did not have the final local government finance settlement, so that's confirmation of the amount of government support that was going to be available to North Somerset, and we also did not have the outcome of our request for exceptional financial support. And you'll recall that at the Cabinet meeting in December, we agreed that we were going to seek exceptional financial support. And I'm just to remind those watching online and those members who are not completely clear about this, exceptional financial support is nothing of the kind. What it is exceptional flexibility on council tax. It doesn't actually involve any additional financial support from government. We heard earlier this week, a matter of a couple of days ago, the final local government finance settlement. So that's the amount of grant support that we're being given by government. That confirmed that there were no substantial changes in the provisional settlement that had been announced back in December, and confirmed that North Somerset's core grant would be reduced by nearly £19 million over a 3-year period. So obviously that's an extremely disappointing outcome, given that we had made significant representations to ministers through our members of parliament and directly through our residents to campaign for a fairer deal for North Somerset. And why did we do that? Because we know that North Somerset Council's core funding from government was tens of millions of pounds below that of the average English council. And that remains true as a result of the fair funding review formula that the government has established. So we've already got an £8.4 million gap in our budget. We've got a local government finance settlement that makes our long-term position nearly £19 million worse off over 3 years. But we did get confirmation that the government recognises that we do have particular financial challenges facing North Somerset, and they were going to grant us some flexibility on council tax. So, as members will know, we were granted an additional 4% of council tax flexibility. So that's in addition to the core rise and adult social care rise, which together would have been 5%. So in total, we have got flexibility to increase council tax as a one-off for 26-27 by 8.99%. So as we sit here today, we're reporting that 8.4 million gap. We know that we've got additional flexibilities on council tax, and that will go some way to closing the budget gap if council decides to support it at the meeting on the 24th of February, but it won't on its own close the gap completely. So we do need to continue to identify further savings to balance the budget. And I think it probably underlines the reality of the way we've been working over a number of years in North Somerset, and that is that we have had to do both reductions in services, savings and transformation, and council tax rises in order to balance the budget, and that situation is not going to change. So the reality is that for 26-27 and the foreseeable future, we are going to need to do both: reduce services, act more efficiently, and increase council tax. So it continues that perfect storm that we have been living through over the last decade and more. One other point that I would make, which we lobbied hard on, was the use of recovery grant and transitional arrangements. So in this current financial year and going forward, the government did announce some additional recovery grant to support councils where they had high levels of deprivation or lower council tax bases. So it was designed to provide some one-off transitional support to those councils that were in most financial difficulty. When the recovery grant was initially announced, North Somerset Council received nothing. There's been an uplift in recovery grant for 26-27, which means that the total available in recovery grant is now £1 billion. But unfortunately, North Somerset Council is still receiving nothing. The consequence of that is that the only way that we can generate the income that we need to pay for services is through council tax. And indeed, I've had a letter from the local government minister which confirms no recovery grant, no transitional support, and their expectation that we will rely on council tax income to close the gap. So again, an extremely disappointing situation where our historic challenges around our low tax base are simply not being reflected by government, and we're being forced into some of the choices that we are.